Hello everyone, Joe Shea of Fanatic Sports here again, and as you know, every year there are disgruntled stars looking for a new team. This past offseason, we had Brandin Cooks go to the Cowboys, ZaDarius Smith to the Browns, and more. This year, there are a few guys, in my opinion, that if this year doesn't go well for them or their team again, they should be looking for a new home either come the trade deadline or next offseason. Jeudy was the 15th pick in the loaded 2020 wide receiver class and was the second receiver drafted in that draft. He had high expectations ever since coming to league, being seen as a fluid route runner with good speed. Both of those have come true in the NFL. But he had a rocky first 2 seasons, experiencing drop issues in his rookie year, only catching 46% of his passes as a rookie. However, his third season, in 15 games, he had nearly 1,000 yards and 6 scores. Every year, he has been a breakout candidate, but due to bad offensive coaching, some injuries, and horrific quarterback play, he has not had the chance. This last season, especially late, he showed us who he really can be. In the final 6 games, he had 37 catches for 523 yards. Keep in mind, he's doing this next to another talented receiver, Courtland Sutton, who has gone for over 1,000 yards before. This upcoming year could go very differently for Jerry, given that they now have offensive mastermind Sean Payton. Payton can scheme up ways for Jerry to get the ball into his hands and do whatever after the catch, as he was top 3 in yards after catch per reception this past season, so we know he can do wonders when the ball is in his hands. He has never had this level of coaching in his 3 years on the Broncos, dealing with a defensive-minded head coach in Vic Fangio and the disastrous tenure of Nathaniel Hackett this past year. It all really depends on Russell Wilson, who, as we know, was an elite quarterback with the Seahawks, got traded and fell off horribly this past year, looking like one of the league's worst quarterbacks. After picking up Jerry's 5th-year option and flirting with the idea of trading him in the past, this year is make it or break it for Jerry, as he will be competing with Sutton and Tim Patrick for targets. But we know he will get the most. Let's not act like there isn't talented receivers in that room though. If the Broncos do not outperform their expectations with Sean Payton as the new coach, and if Russell Wilson doesn't improve, Jerry Jeudy could easily ask to be traded this offseason. He would be a very sought-after receiver in the trade market, as we've seen before. He's a fantastic route runner, one of the best in the league in my opinion. He passes the eye test in all areas, has great advanced numbers, like top 12 in yards per route run, is a good downfield threat, and as I mentioned earlier, he's great after the catch. I don't know a team who wouldn't want him as their wide receiver too. When he was on the market, they wanted a first-round pick for him, which I feel like is a little too much for him, and teams like the Cowboys and Patriots did reach out for a trade, but obviously, the teams failed to reach an agreement. The teams I like for Jerry Jeudy, if he were to be on the move, are the New England Patriots and the New York Giants, where he would be the clear number 1. Both teams are in need of help at wide receiver, and Jerry Jeudy could be a great grab for them. A sneaky team I also like is the Rams, where you get a solid wide receiver 2 next to a top 5 receiver in Cooper Kupp. But, as always, we'll just have to see how the 2023 season goes, and if in that stacked AFC West, the Broncos can outperform what we think of them, and see if Jerry wants out of Denver if they do fail to improve this season. Now, this next guy may be a weird one, but it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. CEH was the last pick of the first round in 2020, going over guys like Jonathan Taylor, and came out guns blazing in his rookie season after being hyped up all offseason as the next big weapon in this Kansas City offense. I don't know if you guys remember, but he was like a 1st or 2nd round pick in fantasy that year. In a week 1 win over the Texans, he put up 138 yards and a touchdown. He would finish the year with 800 yards and 4 touchdowns in only 13 games. Now in his 2nd year, he had an injury-riddled season, playing in only 10 games, and in his 3rd season, he was also injured, but lost his starting spot to Isaiah Pacheco in week 7 after some bad performances. Helaire is a decent back. While he lacks any and all explosiveness you would want in a running back, he could still do some work for you in a committee. However, there's no room for him in KC, with Pacheco being the clear runner and Jerick McKinnon being the pass-catching back, leading the way over Clyde. Pacheco is their bruiser, while McKinnon is an elite receiving option as we saw with all the scores he had last year. The only way that Clyde sees more than 10 to 15% of snaps a game is injuries. Right now Pacheco is out of camp, but he says he'll be back by the season opener. The main issue with Clyde, though, is his ability to stay on the field. Including playoffs, in the last 2 seasons, CEH has only played in 22 of a possible 40 games. My math might be wrong, wasn't a math major. If a team is willing to take a gamble on the 24-year-old running back, it won't take a lot to get him, considering the Chiefs have no need for him now. The Chiefs didn't even extend his 5th-year option, so if you're a team looking to trade for him, you just gotta hope he stays healthy. I'd like to see him in an RB2 role on a couple of teams. Number 1 being the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, Najee Harris gets overworked there. He gets so many touches a year, and at one point it's gonna come to bite the Steelers. So for Najee to not get overworked, like he has in both of his seasons so far, you bring in a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire to take off some of the load alongside Jaylen Warren as well, who's not that untalented of a back. I also like him in New Orleans. Kamara has missed some time the past few seasons, so adding Clyde will help a lot, especially given the new look offense they have. They could use another back if things go south. And let's not forget, Kamara's most likely going to get suspended for somewhere between 2 to 4 games in my opinion, so having Clyde be that RB1 for the start of the season, hopefully he stays healthy, and that could help the New Orleans run game stay afloat while they're without Kamara. Chase Young is on a weird career track. Defensive Rookie of the Year and Pro Bowler after being picked 2nd overall in 2020. 7.5 sacks, 40 pressures, 10 tackles for loss, and was ranked ahead of guys like Cameron Jordan, Shaq Barrett, Matthew Judon, and Jason Pierre-Paul. It looked like all the hype was going to be real for Young, looking like a young stud for that Washington team with a ton of upside. The next 2 years went poorly for Young, playing 9 games but didn't get a sack until week 5, tore his ACL in week 10 of 2021. Come 2022, he didn't play until week 16, played 3 games and didn't get a sack. He's not looked nearly as explosive as he did his rookie season, but there's a large chance he gets back to form after finally not having an offseason full of rehab. He could just grind to get better this offseason, and reports say that he has looked great so far this summer. But hey, maybe that's just the Commanders saying that so that teams trade for him. It is reported that he did look great, light on his feet, and very quick. The Chase Young we are used to seeing. But all that being said, the Commanders, understandably, declined his 5th-year option. They do not want to commit the $17-ish million to Young for a 5th season after the injury issues. That means a trade during the season or Chase signing to a new team after the year could be imminent. Say he is playing decent, but not up to what we have seen prior. The Commanders could look to get some sort of package for him. There are 2 teams I think Chase Young would thrive on: the Detroit Lions and Chicago Bears. The Lions would want to add another number 2 pick edge rusher to their defensive line alongside Aiden Hutchinson. Even if James Houston could break out next year, wink wink, having those 2 on the edge would infuriate opposing offenses, as there really is no way to diminish their impact on a per-game basis through double teams and blocking schemes, because there's 3 guys right there that could come off the edge and dominate, and Aiden Hutchinson can play inside, same with Chase Young. And as for Chicago, they just needed any sort of pass rush. Last year, their leading pass rusher had 4 sacks, and it was rookie stud safety Jaquan Brisker. Their leading D lineman had 3. While they did bring in DeMarcus Walker, who had 7 from Tennessee, adding Chase Young would bring another dynamic player on that defense to go alongside the young studs that they have in the secondary. If the Bears have any sort of decent start to the season, I would 100% take a flyer on trading for Chase Young if I was general manager Ryan Poles. I really do think that there's a chance at least one of these guys is traded before the deadline or signs with a new team in the offseason. If I did make my pick right now, it would be Chase Young. Look, there's a lot of reports saying that the Bears are looking into him alongside other teams. I think that there is a clear case for him to be traded. And according to reports, the Chiefs are, quote, leaning on Edwards-Helaire's leadership during OTAs, and that he looks quick and strong, while Pacheco is sidelined with an injury. For all 3 of these guys, it just has not worked out that great for these 3 youngsters on the teams that drafted them. It would be very interesting to see if they are still on their teams come either Week 8 or the 2024 NFL season. And with all that being said, that is it from me, guys. Thank you for tuning into Fanatic Sports. If you made it this far in the video, come on, just give it a like and subscribe to the channel. All support is very much appreciated, helps me out more than you know. Also, follow me on Instagram at FanaticSports25 and on Twitter and TikTok at Fanatic Sports. This is Joe of Fanatic Sports, signing off.